real quick. We'll cover these following points: renewal process, upgrading to the latest version, installing the help desk, integrating with your infrastructure, configuring and customizing for your needs, and the upcoming release features. And then I'd like to remind everybody that at the end of the webinar, as always, there will be a Q&A session. And feel free to type in your questions anytime during the presentation. And then if we don't get them during the presentation, we'll just get them during the Q&A session. Please put your questions in the Q&A box instead of the chat box. It makes it a lot easier for us to track what questions we've answered. We want to make sure that we get all of them. And when you send them in the chat, then usually only one person gets them, and it just doesn't work as well. So if you could be sure to put your questions in the Q&A box, then that would be fantastic. All right, let's get started. I'm going to pass the ball over to Jen. Jen, can you hear me?
Can you hear me okay, Keaton?
Yes, I can.
Okay, perfect. All right, so like Keaton mentioned, on these next few slides, I'm just going to go over some information regarding the renewals process and upgrading to a new version. First of all, I want to go over upgrade protection and support, or your annual renewal. I sometimes get asked by customers, what is included with upgrade protection and support? What do I receive? First of all, you have access to all new releases of everything Help Desk. When we do have a new release, we will notify our customers by email, and we'll include the download instructions. Also, you can check our website periodically just to see what our newest version is, and it will have all the instructions to download there as well. Second of all, you have access to our GroupLink support team. We have a really great support team. They are always available to help, so if you ever have a technical question or an issue come up within your help desk, you can contact them via email, call their direct phone line, or you can submit a ticket and they are there to help you. Also, I don't know if some of our customers are aware that you have this, but you can receive personalized trainings for you and your team. So if you feel like you're not using the help desk to its fullest potential, or maybe you just want some additional training, you can contact us and we would be more than happy to schedule a one-on-one training with you and your team. So basically, when you do renew your upgrade protection and support, we just want to make sure as a customer care team that you're having the best experience with the help desk and that we're giving you the best possible customer service. All right, moving on, the renewals process. We do have a process that we follow for notifying our customers of the upcoming renewal. Your customer care rep, so myself or Keaton, will send out an email reminder 2 months and then again 1 month prior to your renewal date. For our current customers, all that is required for a renewal to move forward is a signed invoice, and we always do attach the invoice onto those email reminders. And payment is not required until the 15th of the month following your renewal. So if your renewal is due October 31st, actually we wouldn't expect to see the payment until December 15th. So if you get an email reminder from myself or Keaton and you know that you are going to be renewing, you can go ahead and just email us back or give us a phone call and just let us know that you'll be processing the invoice, and that way we won't keep pestering you with additional emails and phone calls. All right, expanding your help desk. There are a couple scenarios when you would need additional licenses. For example, if you are hiring new employees or if you are bringing on new departments. We actually have customers who use our help desk software in multiple departments other than just the technology department. Our software does work well in other departments. Additional licenses can be purchased at any time, so you don't have to wait till your renewal. If you know that you have a need for those licenses, contact us at any time and we'll get you a quote. Renewal date will be matched with other licenses. So for example, if your renewal on your existing licenses is coming due December, and I send you a quote today for a couple additional licenses, I would include the cost of those licenses, but I would only add on 2 months of upgrade protection and support because we want to make sure that all your licenses are on the same renewal date. So I hope that makes sense. You can call your customer care rep at any time for a quote. If you need multiple quotes so you can compare costs, we're more than happy to do that as well. Always watch for emails regarding promotions. They do occur frequently and offer great deals on licenses. And speaking of which, we do have a promotion that we are running right now. We have done this one a couple times. We've had some really positive feedback. You can receive an iPad mini for every 2 full additional technician licenses purchased by October 31st. So if you know that you have a need for additional licenses, right now is a good time to purchase those. You still have time to get in on this offer. Really all that we need is a copy of a signed invoice or a purchase order before October 31st, and you will be eligible for that iPad mini. All right, upgrading. In order to upgrade to a newer version, you need to be current on your upgrade and support. As long as you are current on that, there is no additional cost to upgrade. Also, you can upgrade at any time. You do not have to wait till your renewal. You can upgrade whenever you want. And upgrading really is quick and painless and gives you access to the latest features of everything HelpDesk. And with that being said, I am now going to pass the ball over to Dan, and he is going to go into more detail about upgrading, installing, and configuring.
Okay, as Jen said, this is Dan. I'm on the support team. Can everybody hear me?
I can hear you just fine.
Okay. All right. So there's 2 ways to upgrade. If you go to our website at downloads.grouplink.net, you can upgrade via our standalone installer or the WAR file. I recommend the standalone installer. It basically does everything the WAR file does. The WAR file, you have to do everything manually. The standalone will basically just walk you through it. There's an option in the standalone to do a custom install. Since you're upgrading, you currently have a database installed, and you currently have
Hey Dan.
installed. Yeah.
I think we can only see the slide right now. I don't think we can see your screen.
So okay.
There we go. Now I can see your desktop. Thanks, Dan.
All right. Sorry, guys. So this is the downloads.grouplink.net I was mentioning. There's the standalone installer, our latest release, 10.05, and the WAR file. What you'll need to do is you'll need to download the appropriate installer for your environment. As far as the WAR file, it only comes either in zipped or tar, which is Windows or Linux. But as I mentioned, the standalone installer is the one I recommend. It basically walks through it step for step in upgrading. It gives you the option to do a custom install, and since you're upgrading, our standalone does come with Tomcat, MySQL, and Java. However, you can do the custom install to bypass that and just install the latest release of the HelpDesk. During the install, it'll prompt you to configure to your database, which in most cases pulls from a file that's already installed. So you may not need to enter that information. It may automatically populate that information for you. Then after the database section, it'll just prompt you to your current install of Tomcat. So you'll just need to browse to where you have Tomcat installed, and again, that may be populated. If you used our standalone to install to begin with, it should all just prompt be populated for you. And that's pretty much it as far as the install using the standalone installer. Again, the WAR file is more, it's just manual. It does everything that the standalone installer. So if you're comfortable with doing the WAR, that's definitely an option. But again, I recommend the full installer and just choosing the custom install. And now, doing a complete install, as I mentioned, again, the standalone installer is the only way for a brand new customer install. It does come with Tomcat and MySQL. However, if you have your own SQL, we support, MySQL, of course, and then MS SQL, Oracle, and Protege. The two most common, however, is of course MySQL and MS SQL. But yeah, so you can use those. Those are the supported databases for the help desk. Once that gets installed and you log into the help desk, let's see if I can. You'll get the login screen here. By default, the login ID and password is admin, and of course, once you log in, you can click on the Welcome System Admin button here to change the System Admin account password. So, for the first time, you'll need to load your license. Mine's already loaded, so that's why I don't have that option now. But you'll need to load your license. You'll be brought to this page here. You load your license. Once you load your license, you'll need to sign out and sign back in order to navigate through the system. Once that's complete, there's a couple configurations that I can assist you with. One is the LDAP section. If you choose to integrate with your LDAP, this is where you would set it up. So basically, all you'll need is your LDAP URL, your LDAP server, basically. Once you enter that in, you click on the Fetch DNs, and then it'll populate your base search DNs. Usually, you just search at the beginning of the tree, which ours there is DC equals GroupLink, comma DC equals net. And then you'll need a login ID and password in order to connect to your LDAP. Now, the login ID needs to be the fully distinguished qualified name. So as you can see here, this is my information here. So it needs to be the fully qualified domain distinguished name, and then of course the password for that user. Most companies will use their administrative account or create one just for GroupLink, for the Everything Help Desk. So those two, the LDAP login and the password is really all you need. If you want to do an inclusive search and just search, particular containers, you can add that in here. That way, it just limits the search of your LDAP. Click Save Changes. Your changes will be saved. Once that's done, to verify, you can come in here to User Accounts, and then you'll see the Import from LDAP button here. And this is actually linking. You can just do a search, and this is actually linking to your LDAP. In order to import users, there's 4 required fields that the help desk requires. It's going to be the last name, first name, username, and email. Any of those 4 fields are missing, the user will not be imported. So you need to make sure those 4 fields are populated within your LDAP. The next section I'm going to go over here is the mail. So it's pretty straightforward. all you'll need is just your SMTP, your outgoing server, mail server information. In most cases, again, this will be all dependent on your mail server, but in most cases, the security is none, and user and password. Usually, outgoing is anonymous. So, in most cases, it'll be none and zero. You don't have to put in a username or password. Once you populate this information, click Save. You can go ahead and enter an email address here and test your connection and make sure it's set up properly. This is something also that I can assist you with if you're having issues with setting it up. So the incoming section is the email to ticket feature within the help desk. So basically, when this is set up, you have an inbox that you have dedicated to the help desk, and your users can email this inbox. The help desk will read the inbox every minute. Sees an email in there, it'll grab that email, convert it into a ticket, and then delete the email. And this is how we're going to route, basically, set up the email box and then route the ticket. So again, this is just your incoming mail server information. As you can see, I'm using Gmail. Gmail uses IMAP and the security, everything for Gmail I have set up here. So yeah, you'll need to set up an email box, preferably one that's dedicated for the help desk. As I mentioned, it'll monitor that mailbox once a minute and convert any email in that inbox into a ticket. Over here on the right side of the column, you have the option here of emails from non-users. Do you want to reject them, create an anonymous account, or have them create an account? Generally, most use, as I have here, anonymous account. Once you get that, we go down to the location. And now, before this is all set up, however, we'll need to go, for new users, this is, of course, you'll need to go and set up locations, your groups, and your priorities before the incoming can be set up. Once that's done, then you can come in here and select, where you want to route the ticket to, basically. Once this information, and again, I can assist you with this if you have any questions or need assistance. You can definitely email me directly, or our support box, or call in as well. But of course, once this is all set up, you can save changes. It'll kick you out, go back in, and we can test the connection. Maybe. So connected with 330 messages. Obviously, mine's not running, as you can see in the status. I have it paused. But if it were, those 330 emails would be, the help desk would grab those emails, every minute and convert it into a ticket. Obviously, I got to go and clean that up before I start this back up. And I believe that's all I have. Again, if you have any questions with installation, upgrading, configuration, with the mail or the LDAP, that's something I can assist you with. You're more than happy to give me a call. And now I believe I will pass it back over to Keaton.
Thanks, Dan. Just a quick reminder to everybody, if you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A box, not the chat box, and we will get to those during the Q&A session. We have one more presenter. I'm going to pass the ball over to Catherine. Are you there, Catherine?
Yeah, I am. Sorry about that. Hey, just let me know when you can see my screen, and then we
All
can
right.
start.
I can hear you just fine, and I'm not seeing your screen yet. I'm seeing a blank screen.
A black screen. It takes a second sometimes.
There we go. I can see your desktop.
Okay. Okay, so the things that I'm going to go over today is just basic setup after you get all of the technical aspects done with Dan or Kyle from our support department. So I'm just going to log in as the admin here. And one thing that Dan went over was the setting up users when you're using LDAP. If you're not going to integrate with LDAP or Active Directory and you're going to set your users up yourself, you have two options. You can set them up yourself under user accounts, or you can also make it so that people or users can come to the login page and set it up themselves. And so here, if they get to your website, there's an option here that says New User Register Here. So either you can do it, or you can take that part away from yourself and let your users set up a user ID the first time. So there's just a few things. I know most of you already have your users set up, but if you come in and you edit a user, this is where you can add different group roles. And at the end of my part, I'm going to go over some roles that we're going to be adding. So if you were going to add any roles, this is where you could do it, just with a particular user, or you can actually go into the group itself and add it there, and I can show you that as well. So like I said, you can come in and add any information to this screen, or change a password, or the user themselves can also change the password by coming here. So the next thing that I'm going to go over here is just the options. I'm going to make these smaller. Just the options here under tickets. Now, groups is something that you've all created, and we have done several webinars on different groups that you could possibly use in different aspects of your business. Most of you are information technology, but you can branch those out into your maintenance, your buildings or grounds, or we have one customer that uses it to distribute technology, just distribute tablets, iPhones, iPads, things like that, so that they can keep track of who has what their mobile numbers are, things like that. When you're setting up a group, or when you come in to edit a group, this is where you would add the categories and category options. So this is this technology distribution I created to give out those items. And so I've just added categories and category options. You don't have to have any. If you are a customer that you don't want your end users to fill out categories and category options, you don't have to add any here. It just gives it, specifies things a little bit more for the technician. But if you want the user end experience to be more like the email to ticket experience, then they don't have to fill that part out. So under locations, that's pretty self-explanatory. I think all of you have these set up, but you can add as many as you need to. You can deactivate them, or if you don't want to deactivate it, you can just simply edit it and change the name. So a few of the things that I wanted to cover here was statuses and priorities. A lot of people just use the generic statuses and priorities that come across with the system, which is fine. They're great priorities, great statuses to use. But you can also add your own, and so I thought I would just give a few different ideas here, and also to let you know what this actually does and why you would need to put this information in here. So when you log in the very first time, or the priorities that come with it are low, medium, and high. And so they're in an order. If they're not in the order that you would like them to be in, I don't know if you all know that you can just drag this little blue diamond-looking thing, and you can change the order. Now, the reason the order matters is this is how it's going to display when somebody logs in to either put a ticket in, or if a technician is going to be changing that priority. The one that is at the top, which if you're looking at my screen right now, it says low, that's going to be your default priority. And so a lot of customers do not want their users to change that priority because, of course, everything would be critical or system down. and it could be as simple as their printer's unplugged. So you probably don't want them to be able to select that. So this is more for your technicians or managers. So whatever is displayed at the top is what the default will be. So this one is set to low. So I'm just going to switch over here and show you if a technician was logged in or a manager. Right here where it says low, I have blank next to it. So it's going to display in this column right here. This particular ticket is set to low. And if you notice that these colors, and then here is system down, what I have done is I have set my high to red, my medium to orange, critical blue, and then system down is text. So as a technician or a manager, when I log in, I can look at this very quickly. And if you want to only have one item sent to a color, so those are the ones that are going to flag for that technician, then you can do that. Sometimes, you know, to color code this, and you might have to have a decoder next to your computer to remember what those mean. So you might just want to go with, you know, red for critical or the word critical there. Or they can all display the words themselves. So you could change all of these to text, and then it would display in that column what it was. So there's some ideas on the priorities and exactly what this information right here means. You can add as many as you would like, or if you want to only have one priority, you can just have one. That's up to you. So now we're going to come over here to statuses, and I think I just got that because I logged in over here. Okay. And one thing to let you know, on the statuses and the priorities, they do go straight across the board for every single group. So they are not group specific. So whatever you put here for statuses and priorities, they will be accessible by each and every group's technicians. So there is a couple things that are standard here. Awaiting dispatch is one that will come, assigned not updated, work in progress, on hold, and closed. Those are ones that you're going to see just when you do the initial install. But you can go ahead and add in as many statuses as you would like as well. Now, one that we've added that we use in our system is awaiting customer response. And the reason that we put that in is so that if a technician has had to ask the customer a question or they're waiting for a file or something like that, they will change the status to awaiting customer response. So if let's say the emails get crossed or lost or something and the customer logs in and sees that that's the status of the tickets, then it will prompt them to, will hopefully prompt them to go in and look at what the comments are. And it also helps the technician to prioritize what they're doing, and if they're looking at things in different statuses, then they know exactly where that one's at. Now, the ones at the bottom here, I've added just for particular groups. So the taken from warehouse and the back order, those are two that I added for the technology distribution group, so that when the technician actually goes and takes the item from the warehouse, then they will mark that on the ticket. And then once it's delivered to the person, then they can mark that on the ticket or close it out at that point. The back order is for when that particular item is back ordered and it's not in stock at the time. I mean, you could use that for things in the IT department as well. You know, if you're waiting on a part or a particular printer or something. And then the other two below, the approved and denied, is something that, I mean, we've had several customers where they need some type of workflow set up to get certain things approved at the location. And it's, since there's been the use of tablets and iPads and mobile labs, they want to be able to download things or download apps in particular, and so they have to set up a workflow process to get that app approved and then to get it downloaded and installed, because we don't want to give those rights to the students, and so the teacher then requests that and then it gets done on the IT side. So those are just a few examples of how you can use or utilize the statuses for different groups or for different purposes. Now, one thing that we do in our system is we have, in order to separate them, because we have different groups across the board, we have a status that instead of words, it's just dashes like this. And so it kind of separates it. So we will have the one group's statuses and then the dotted line, and then there's another group, just so that it makes it a little bit easier without having to sort through everything. It's kind of a visual thing, but it just makes it so that it lumps it together better. And then the other thing here is custom field setup. I know that we've talked a lot about custom fields and the way that they help out different departments or just different categories and category options. And so I've put a couple in here. Room number is pretty much a staple for everyone, so that when the technician gets to the location, they can actually find where they need to go. I added the name of the coach for the voice group. And so here it's just a drop down. And if you notice here, I did not make that one required. And then I've just added the names of the coaches that they could possibly select. Now this one in particular is tied right to the group, and so anytime that group is selected, then this custom field will appear. You can attach it right to a category or right to a category option. So you can get as specific as you want or as general. So you can also set it just strictly to a location within a group, and so if the group, the voice is selected and then only a certain location is selected, then those custom fields would appear on the screen for the person to answer. If it is not required, then they will not have to fill it out, and they can save the ticket without putting that information in there. But it still will help for the technician. It's probably a question, that they're going to have to ask. And so even if the user doesn't fill it out, then the technician can add it after that. Or you can simply make it required and they can't leave the ticket until it's filled out. Now on this, I added this replacement and new employee for my technology distribution, just so, if I had an employee that needed a new cell phone, is it because this person broke it and it needs to be replaced, or is there something wrong with it and it needs to be replaced, or is it simply a new employee and so we just need to give them a new phone? So I set this one just to a checkbox so that the technician could check if it was a replacement. If it's not checked, then it's not, and then there is also one for new employee, and they could check mark that as well. So I guess the most important thing on the custom fields is to realize here on the right-hand side where you're attaching it to. So these ones in particular, if there's only a group there, then anytime that group is selected, this custom field is going to appear. And so if you only want custom fields to appear on categories or only certain locations, let's say you have a problem at one location and you need to get certain questions answered every time that location enters a ticket, you can add that location here. So this right-hand side is probably the most important part as to how effective those custom fields are going to be. We've went over the permission models several times, but I wanted to let you all know that we are going to be releasing a version 10.1. Hopefully it'll be out by the end of next week. We're just in the final stages of testing, but what that version is going to do, there's two major things in there. One is the column resizing. That's one thing that we have had several of our customers ask for, and that is just simply being able to, on the My Tickets screen, which the admin doesn't have one, so I will type in the right password. That would be here, these columns. So you can, if you don't even really need to see like this priority, obviously it doesn't need to be taking up this much space for either those dots or nothing. Some of you might have nothing there. So that particular release will have the ability to resize these columns right here. And then the other is we're adding in a role, and we're calling it a workflow participant. And the reason for this role is for, I'm just going to use a school as an example. Let's say you have, I talked about getting things approved or denied. Let's say you have principals that need to be able to approve things, but they're not really a technician. And so it doesn't really make sense for you to purchase a full technician license. And so we have created this workflow participant that has a few extra rights so that they can go in and do the things that need to be done in order to get things approved or for their job description. Now we do have a PDF, and let me flip that over here. We will be posting this on our website so that you can see exactly who does what and what the default roles will be. And so the biggest one in my mind is the ability to, and I'm trying to find it here. The workflow participant could change a priority, they could change a status if needed be, and they can also change the assignment. So maybe not even a principal that is approving or denying things. It can be a help desk person who tickets are coming into the ticket pool and they need to reassign those tickets, maybe change the priority because everything's coming in on a low priority and they know that it needs to be high, but they're not the actual technician that is working the ticket. And so that person that is a workflow participant will not be able to have their name listed under the assignments area, but they will be able to do things that normal users will not be able to do. And I mean, if you have any questions on this, we can go over it in detail, but all of our current customers are just grandfathered into whatever you have purchased up until this point is what your license file will reflect. And so this is really something for new customers, but we also want our current customers to know that that option is out there and that you can have workflow participants rather than just trying to find some sort of workaround. So if you do have people that need to have those extra rights, then we do have a role for them. I'm sure that you'll all have questions on that, and when we actually release it, this will be posted on the website, and so you can print it out to see, and then when you install it, the newest version, 10.1, then you will be able to see that role in there and play with it a little bit more. But if you have any questions on it, feel free to send me an email or give me a call. It might be a little confusing at first. And that is all I have for you. So I will go ahead and switch it back over to Keaton and see what questions we have.
Thank you so much, Catherine.
Mm-hmm.
And I will just correct, I'm sure everybody noticed Catherine's mistake there, that you wouldn't need a drop-down field for the voice judges in real life because anybody who's anybody would choose Blake Shelton. Just saying. Now, we've had a couple people ask some questions already. At this point, though, we always like to give you a minute or two just to make sure you get them all typed in and make sure they're all in the Q&A box. And so let's take a quick break, 60 seconds. Before that, I just want to remind everybody, Catherine already went over this, but version 10.1 will be available soon. Catherine did a good job of covering that. So 60 seconds, and then we will come back and answer any questions you have. All right, thank you, everybody. We have some questions to answer, and so let's just get right to it. The first one looks like will be for Jen, and this question is a great question. Do hosted versions of the help desk get updated on our end?
Okay, yeah, that is a great question. Actually, the answer to that is yes. If you are on the hosted version, we will automatically update your help desk to our latest version, and we will actually send you an email to let you know that we are upgrading you. So we will notify you when that takes place.
Thanks, Jen. The next question is from Pam, and this one will be for Dan.
Okay.
And the question is, what if my mail is in the cloud, like O365, for the SMTP server?
Okay. Yeah, that can be set up. That information should be sent to you by Microsoft. But yeah, that's just the configuration to your 365 is all we'll need. And again, that should be sent to you. If it's a secure connection, there's just we do have an article on how to do secure connections. We would just need to install a certificate. Yeah, that is supported.
Thank you, Dan. This next one comes from Taylor. When upgrading to the latest version, what would best practice be for backing everything up before the upgrade? Looks like this is another question for Dan.
Okay. Again, yeah, I should have mentioned this. Yeah, obviously before upgrading, you always want to make sure you back up your database. The database is actually what contains all your information. There's a question about ldap. ldap information, your mail server, groups, locations, category, all that is stored within the database and will be carried over. But yeah, before you upgrade, you always want to make sure you have a good backup.
Thank you, Dan. Ken, we do have more questions coming in. Just bear with us for a second. Be patient. We're going to get to those as quickly as we can. We have a question from Lori about specific versions of version 10, and Amy's going to tackle that one.
Okay, so Lori had asked what the difference is between version 10.03 and 10.05. We actually have the differences outlined in our release notes, and Lori, I'll just post the link to the latest release notes in the Q&A for you, and you can look through all of the bug fixes and enhancements that would be in version 10.05. So look for that in your Q&A box.
Actually, let's go ahead and post that in the chat box for everybody, Amy, and then anybody can click on the link if they'd like. Is that all right?
Yep, that sounds great. So I'll post that in the chat box then.
Thank you so much. All right, Dan, one more question about LDAP. Pam has asked, after upgrading to a new version, will the LDAP information be carried over or will it need to be reconfigured?
All right. No, it won't need to be reconfigured. Again, that's part of the database, and that information will be carried over along with, like I said, the mail, your groups, and all that good stuff. All that is stored within the database. So, as I mentioned before upgrading, it's always a good idea to make sure you have that backup.